Good evening. Welcome to our council meeting. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation by Councilman Culleton. Oh, yes, we do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I was waiting for Scott. So before we,
Most loving God, we ask you to be with us tonight as we do the work of the town of Paradise for the citizens of the town of Paradise. We ask you to guide us in our decision-making so that we may best serve this community that we all love so much. May you bring peace upon the world and stop war all over. In God's name, amen.
amen. So before we move on to roll call, report on our closed session is direction given, no action taken, so closed session is closed. Melanie, roll call. Bless you.
Roll call, Councilmember Bolin.
Here.
Councilmember Culleton.
Here.
Councilmember Lang.
Here.
Councilmember Lasan.
Here.
And Mayor Crowder.
Here. 1E, presentation by Bicar Coalition Executive Director Kenneth Shear on the benefits of biochar for vegetation management.
Greetings, board. How are we doing today? Good. Thank you so much for taking the time to take a little listen about what we're up to in your town and all the great work we've been doing. Preston here, he lives here. He's actually the big catalyst for us starting the Biochar Coalition. He can kind of give you a little, small little intro so we can get this going.
Yeah, just real quick, I started at Butte College, did a biochar internship pre-fire and post-fire. Continued it going where we worked with the Butte County Fire Safe Council doing burns for cleanup in Concow and Miguelia Reservoir, here in Paradise, and all over Butte County. I started a business doing vegetation management in 2020, and that's where I met Ken. He actually found me, taught him what he knows about making biochar, and he's taken it way further than I did. And yeah, now we're just trying to spread the word and get people burning in a safer manner that actually puts a product back into the soil to reduce wildfire risk in our area.
And we prepared a slide for you guys so we can kind of get an idea with some visuals. Visuals help. Once again, I'm Kenneth Shearer with the Biochar Coalition. I'm the executive director. We've been operating since, 2020? But we've been experiencing intense wildfires, especially here. I mean, 2018 was a big year for us. And I am from New York. I grew up there, but I came out here in 2020, and I instantly became in love with the area and the people. The people were the best part about Paradise, and the welcoming spirit and the rebuilding and all the pain that you guys have been through. It just breaks my heart. So we're rising from the ashes today, right? This is a common theme, the phoenix. We're rising up. We're getting this back to where we need to be, and we're going to defend ourselves against all ecological threats. We can go to the next slide. Char awareness is next. Well, that's a nice slide. We take a look. That's good. You'll see char awareness. We're into biochar eco-restoration, and we do this with vegetative management strategies. We're here to foster responsible fire usages. We call it appropriate fire. Everyone calls it good or bad. We say appropriate. It's what's useful for that specific area. Our generally purposes are to reduce slash. You'll see here in these photos. Top is a burn. That scares the hell out of us. This is why we're doing this. Excuse my French. But you'll see on the bottom there, the almond orchard. We worked in Durham. We set up 5 kilns, reduced probably 40 trees into biochar in 2 days. And it was all set up ready to go. Randy McLaughlin, I think you guys know, Old Durham Wood. He done a reduction there. Down there is Helltown. We did a burn for Cheryl Cozard. Fantastic. I mean, she is a master gardener. They can't literally say that they like biochar or no biochar yet. There's not enough information, I guess. But that didn't stop us. We think there is enough. And
That's why we're here, is to educate people on biochar.
Right. And on the bottom right is actually a year later, and those are new oak saplings coming up, and they're enjoying that soil. So we can go to the next slide. We are empowered by PRC, Division 13. This is actually CEQA. was created from. It started in 1979, and it says every citizen's responsibility to contribute to the preservation and enhancement of the environment. So we're here to empower the citizens. That's why we created the coalition as a nonprofit, because we saw, wow, we can really access the public resource code being a public entity. Next slide. So currently, this is on the right, you'll see in red, this is what we're doing. We're chipping, we're hauling, we're turning things to ash, we're driving heavy equipment on the forest floor, compaction, we're not reducing it, we're reorganizing materials with mastication, and when a fire comes through, residency time for fire is intense. It's literally nuking the landscape. And I don't have any problems with masticators, but there's other treatment options that by law, CEQA requires alternative development to public projects to be considered before any public projects are considered. So that's why we're here today. I think whoever invited us, Heidi, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But we're here to show you. So on the right, we're doing biochar. We're converting slash into a valuable product. I don't know if everyone knows biochar here, but that's what we do. We make it. We'll go into details. That on the bottom is an enriched biochar that's been full of life, and we can go ahead and bury that in the ground to assist ecological function. Next slide. Our coalition, we're all about educational workshops. A lot of these pictures that's Noble Park,
Yeah.
right?
A couple of those are in Noble Park. The bottom right, the bottom middle are definitely Noble Park.
That's McGalley on the top right. Then we offer community engagement, professional training programs. We're here to make sure we're doing the right thing because there's a lot of nuances that come with charcoal production. We want to be safe. We want to make sure we're making a really fine product that we can go ahead and bury in the ground and assist ecological function. Next slide. Problem with open pile burning. I mean, the problem with open pile burning is intense. We all know, right? Open burning, I think you guys just made everyone have to get a permit to burn, right? So that we know that people are doing the right thing before a burn. We're being safe. That's why we don't do open pile burning. We know how to teach it to get people to make less smoke, but we advocate for the kiln because we don't see this kind of thing with our kiln unless there's a misoperation or unless someone doesn't know what they're doing. And it's a public health risk. This smoke, especially Preston, he can talk to you about that.
So my lungs were pretty severely affected by the bear fire as well as the campfire. And whenever there's people burning these open piles like that, producing a bunch of smoke, like there was one on the way over here on Wagstaff right now where, I drive through there and I start coughing my head off because my lungs take a hit. But what we do, the burning method we use, we burn from the top down and it actually reduces the amount of smoke. That smoke will funnel back into the flame and recombust. And it'll actually, it's a fairly clean burn that we have going on. And so for people like me who have asthma and were affected by smoke, it doesn't affect me at all.
Next slide, please. So what is the value of ash? Can anyone on board kind of give me an answer? So ash is great for soap making, or you got a high acidic soil, use it to lower the pH, right? Or to increase the pH. So we see it, there is value, but we're making too much of it. We're burning our slash piles into ash, and that doesn't stick around. That washes off, it oxidizes, creates pH imbalances. We're already dealing with a distressed ecosystem here. I'm seeing the soil turning acidic all over the place too, as well, because things weren't managed, the soil wasn't taken care of. We're seeing it. We just did a restoration activity over in, what was that? Regenerate Paradise. They just did over at that new development that's happening over there. I took soil samples over, acidic. I couldn't believe it was like 4.5 in some places and 5. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So I did some research and I saw that after time, after a series of fires and things like that, the contaminants and things are actually acidifying your soil. Things aren't going to be able to grow unless we treat them right now. And biochar is perfect because it's got a high alkaline content. So you make that, bam, goes around the soil, conditions it, and within, I'd say like months, you'll see a difference within the aggregate formations. Next slide. And that's the value of charcoal. Look how much, that was about 10 cubic yards of material we burned yesterday in Auburn. And that doesn't look like the ash pile, right? It looks like we can use that material, right? We can put that anywhere we want. We can use it in road repair. You can use it for filtration. You can use it for the garden. Next slide. We were talking about top-down burning. So this is our advocacy to reduce smoke emissions by just operating the pile in a different manner. instead of lighting it from the bottom, like we're taught with our Boy Scouts and whatnot, we light it from the top, create a small flame, and then 2 flames come down. Can I take this? So we ignite the pile up here on the top, and then the embers fall down, and then the mass will fully engulf, reducing any volatiles. A flame cap is important. That's what's reducing the volatility and not creating this intense combustion. And then we get a nice coal bed. Things start breaking down. We get them back with a rake, right? And then we quench out the coals, let this mass finish out, and then we quench that, and we're done. And instead of creating that ash pile, we get some char. And this is, once again, this is Cheryl Cozart and her group. Wonderful. I love her. Next slide. And this is an advocacy brochure we created with our coalition to get people the idea on how they can do this at home without a kiln. It's rather simple, and you can reduce emissions just by burning a little bit different. Next slide. So raw biochar, so we're talking about high pH, devoid of life, highly porous, can contain PAWs, highly negative charge, stable and abundant, because we have trees everywhere in this county, and especially Paradise.
So one thing to keep in mind about biochar is, another reason we're advocating for it is the water retention in the soil, especially in an area like Paradise where we got really scorched soil. There's a USDA statistic that says 1% of organic matter put back into the soil retains 27,000 gallons of water per acre per year in the top 6 inches of soil. We convert more than 1% of the carbon that the material we pyrolyze into stable carbon that we put back into the soil. So that's a lot of water retention that allows vegetation to stay green longer, as well as, obviously shrink the fire season in the long run.
Next slide. So we can see here, this is what biochar looks like microscopically. Different temperatures create different type of biochars. Our kilns are right around 650 to 800 degrees Celsius. So we're getting a nice structure, nice quality biochar, because not all biochar is made the same. Next slide. And you'll see here, this is I'll try to explain this chart. So these are tar formations, and when you reach a certain apex temperature and heat, you can create nasty carcinogens if you don't do it right. And this is what we're really working for with our group, is to make something that's very ecologically sound, safe to handle, and ready to go in the soil. We don't want to make this stuff. And this is a lot, I don't want to bash anything, but these are the high temperature, really high. This is high temperature, like excessive, like a blast furnace, right? And that's, I don't want to dish on air curtain burners. I think they're great. It just takes the right operator to know what they're doing to make the best quality product, like anything, right? Next slide. So what we're here today is to talk about workforce development. We really need crews out there with assisting Public Resource Corps 13 that's alternative to development projects such as vegetation management. I know we got a big strip about to be done here in this town, and I just saw that they're accessing the PG&E settlement fund to pay for it, and I'd asked them for funds to help us do our workforce development for alternative measures, and they just disregarded us. But I'm glad that you guys are here, because this is where the work's going to happen. This is where it's important. That's why I'm glad I'm here. I was going to go to the county meeting today, but I was like, no, I already got one with where the work's being done right here. So that's why I came. Next slide. And there's a lot of environmental and economic, but we kind of touched base on that. Water holding is our #1 concern, right? If we have more water on the ground, vegetation will last longer, and the fires come through, slow it down. You got to slow these fires down. I think that's why Cohasset was saved, right? Cal Fire did a great job doing some containment lines and saved that town. Good job. Thanks, Cal Fire. So we're here to change the way we see fire. And we also work with prescribed burners. I've been taking the TREX classes, so I can be taken a little bit more serious about what we're doing with fire, and we became LTO, so we're under jurisdiction of the Board of Forestry. So we're being upgraded, we're advocating to the BOF to incorporate carbon making or amorphous carbon into their forest practice rulebook for any type of timber harvest plans. All we're asking for is 10%. 10% of all vegetative management be converted. That's nothing. 10% is nothing. And you'll see it if you guys have faith in us and let us go ahead and do this work. Eventually you'll see the benefits, and I guarantee it. Preston?
So we actually have another event coming up in Cohasset for anybody that does want to see what we're doing. Yeah, next slide, please. So we're doing an event next Saturday in Cohasset. The address, do you know it off the top of your head?
Maple Ave, 11. Go to the next
It's
slide.
on, it's on the next slide. It's on the website as well, biocharcoalition.org. But
Let's go to the next slide, please. Right here.
yeah, so right here, 11 Maple Creek Ranch Road in Cohasset, we're going to be doing a biochar event to teach people how we do what we do and show people that you can do this on your own property. It's not hard. It's actually very, very easy. And the more people we have doing it on their own property, the less we need to actually hire large crews of people to go out and do the work. It's all about trying to get the local people trying to do this on their own property.
Great, and we're just hoping, like you said, that last slide said, join us, there's much to do. There's a lot of wood out there. I mean, I went through the CAL FIRE, Cal Trees, they just did a report. I think CAL FIRE did about all the piles, all the burn piles, permits that were filed, and it was excessive. I mean, this county had like 80,000 cubic yards or something. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it was excessive. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of ash, you know? I'm like, could have been more char, even 10% would have made a difference. So all I'm advocating for today is a 10% reduction of our vegetative management to charcoal. We'll start there and go further.
Yeah. Sorry for going over time a little bit, everybody. We wanted to make sure we got this information out there to the people that needed it the most, and we really appreciate you having us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Directors.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay. Item 1F, campfire recovery updates. Written reports are included in the agenda packet. Any questions for Colette Curtis?
The famous question we've always had, anything happen with the Category 3 tree?
I am actually going to defer to our attorney on that question.
Category 3?
Yes.
Yeah, we're actually preparing a memo for discussion with the council about next steps. We did get an unfavorable ruling from the Administrative Appeals Board, but I'm preparing a memo, and we'll in the coming months we'll talk about what the next steps are
Okay,
for the town.
thank you.
Other questions for Colette? Okay. Mark Maddox, Public Works Director, Infrastructure and Sewer Updates. Any questions for Mark?
Comments afterwards?
What's it? Yeah, after Cliff.
1G is the standalone item on the sewer.
Okay. Tony Lindsay, CDD Building and Code Enforcement. Questions for Tony? Okay. 1G, Paradise Sewer Project Update by Mark Maddox.
All right, good evening, Mayor Crowder. It's my pleasure tonight to really start a first of series of updates. Just as we had the campfire recovery updates, we will go ahead and continue the Paradise Sewer Project update here at this part on the agenda, where we can recap where we've been and where we're going and the activity in the month that occurred between the council meetings. Again, I'll just kick off this update and say that the town of Paradise has never been closer to achieving a full Paradise Sewer Project in some form or fashion. I'm really excited for the direction and the accomplishments over the last month. And with that, I have a written report, but I'll just summarize it here that we have established our ad hoc committee, which maintains a goal to increase the project's momentum while keeping the public apprised of project progress to find a fundable, permittable, and scalable wastewater collection and treatment solution in Paradise. With that in mind, our overall project objectives remain unchanged to improve the economy, to improve recovery, and to improve the environment. Since this ad hoc committee was formed with Mayor Crowder and Councilmember Lang, we have held a community meeting. We notified all of the parcels within the original sewer service area. We held that here on March 5th, I believe. And then since that time, we've engaged all on-site wastewater operators in Paradise as well as industry professionals, inviting them to attend the meeting as well as engage with us on a one-to-one basis, and we are going ahead with that effort right now. We've already met with several vendors this week and more to come over the next 2 weeks. We went ahead and launched a new and revised ParadiseSewer.com. I have it here on the website. Again, if you're looking to get in touch with us or if you're looking for information about the project, feel free to visit here, again, ParadiseSewer.com, about where we are and where we're going. More information there. We're going to try and put some graphics on there as well as far as the project status and the alternatives analysis. But with that said, appreciate the community feedback from a survey we did in our community meeting as well as our online version of the same questions, really asking some foundational questions if you had to choose, just conceptually, not for actual decision making for our purposes, but really trying to find the pulse of the community of those who are interested in responding, is if you had to choose between Skyway and the downtown or Clark to be served first in a phased approach to the Paradise Sewer Project. We had 93 respondents say that they preferred Skyway in the downtown and 27 for Clark Road. And then we recognize that any sort of wastewater treatment facility has the ability for potential impacts to the community. And so understanding we are looking at a cost-constrained situation where if we choose to have that facility closer or in town, we might be able to serve more parcels. And if that facility needs to be out of town, it'll be further away, which will again add project cost. And so with that in mind, we were curious on the community's feedback if you would prefer a treatment facility outside of town serving fewer parcels. We had 32 respondents for that selection. And then 75 respondents looking for something closer within Paradise to serve more parcels in our first phase. And so I really think the attendance in our community meetings and the responses on the survey are great, and we see a clear need and desire to see this project continue forward in its most efficient manner possible. We're pursuing funding for the construction phase of the project through the United States Army Corps of Engineers 219 program. We've submitted a letter of interest on that program. We have potential to access up to $50 million in funding secured through Congressman LaMalfa's office. It still requires many key approvals and appropriations at the federal level, and obviously we are going to be paying very close attention about that climate and is our path forward to help secure those funds for the project. So that's very exciting. And then also later tonight on the agenda, we are considering reallocating $20 million of community development block grant disaster recovery infrastructure funds from roadway projects towards the sewer project. And again, that'll be later tonight on the agenda. Really to round out the update here, our project ad hoc committee was expanded to begin a higher level of partnership and collaboration with Paradise Irrigation District. The district has authorized 2 board members and their district manager to attend our ad hoc committee meetings, already exploring potential opportunities to streamline the project while leveraging their experience with ours and seeing some benefits of that already. So we will continue to engage and inform the broader community of the project status and direction. We are, again, meeting with vendors and formulating really what we hope to be 5 complete project alternatives for your review and community review on next steps and direction, with an ultimate goal of bringing that forward to the town council this summer, June, July, really so we can quickly move forward and continue our construction funding pursuits, as well as starting our revisions to necessary environmental approvals and permitting. I already mentioned the efforts for the U.S. Army Corps Engineers Program for the funding, but we're also pursuing State Water Board funding as well, potential for $27 million in additional grant funds there. All right, so with that, again, we are grateful for the community's unwavering project support. That much is clear over the last couple of months, and if you have any ideas or interested in having your ideas shared with us, please do not hesitate to contact me here at Town Hall or our project team or here on our website at ParadiseSewer.com. With that, I'll say thank you for your time and open for any questions.
Any questions from the council? Okay, before we go to questions, let me just say, if you're hearing the same questions asked, or somebody had no need to ask it twice, and keep in mind too, next month, we're going to, at a date to be determined, we will have another public sewer meeting. So if you've got something that can't be answered in 3 minutes, there's your opportunity. So with that, cards, Melanie?
Yes, first card by Mark Thorpe.
Good evening, Council. Mark Thorpe of the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce. First and foremost, want to appreciate the council and the staff for pursuing this because we know it's not an easy decision. There's a lot at stake. I do want to be here, I am here as a result of conversations with the Chamber of Commerce Board on issues concerning expediation of the process. It sounds like that we are having those additional meetings coming up here soon, and we appreciate that. Also, the updates on the website. We do know that there's ad hoc meeting coming up pretty soon. Wondering if it could be answered as to whether or not the ad hoc meeting is going to be recorded or if a narrative is going to be created for the website, giving us some indication. And let me qualify why. We've been receiving incessant calls at the Chamber of Commerce pertaining to businesses that are interested in the community, but we cannot give them an answer. Again, referring them to the town so that some of these can be answered as a collective between the public and private. We feel it would be beneficial for us to communicate effectively, if not through an ad hoc committee, which we understand. The idea basically is we would like to be included in the information that is derived from that particular meeting. That being said, again, want to appreciate you putting the masthead up top there for the input from the community. That does help us a lot. Also want to bring forward that the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce is willing to do a survey specific to the businesses within the community. That's at 400 plus businesses. I think they have some not obligation, but they have some input that you may receive and want to receive, apart from just the citizenry through a general survey. So please utilize this if you need us. We want to help and make ourselves available to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Cliff Jacobson.
Good evening, Town Council and Town staff. Again, I usually have something prepared, but then I shoot from the hip. So Mark said a lot of what I wanted to say, so I'll just kind of cut to the chase. I think that we need more transparency. The town's people need to know what's going on. As Mark stated, he has some updates. There are some exciting things he wants to tell us that he's obviously been involved in. As far as we know, nothing's happening because that's not being conveyed to us. The website has old news on it about how the sewer system died. We don't really care about that. We just all need to move forward, and we need to see things on the website that tell us that something is being done. I don't care about all the old stuff. I don't, everybody's read it so many times, like I say, it is old news. But let's try and make the website relevant, make it have an update that people can actually go to and see. And if you don't come to one of these council meetings, you don't really know what's going on. So the survey that he did with the sandwich sign outside was for anybody that was here that one night. But there's a lot of people that probably would weigh in on it if they knew that the question was even being asked. Not that I think it was that important, actually. It was to get a pulse of the people, but the pulse of the people is just not the people that showed up at the town council meeting. It's the whole town, and there's a lot more out there. One thing that I was a little concerned about is that website, it does state gravity sewer systems again. So there's an outline there that shows collection and transporting and then processing, but it says transporting by gravity sewer. Now, that's a mistaken concept unless you're intending on ending up with a full sewer system. And I thought that train had already left the station and we were done. We can't afford to wait for a sewer system. We don't have the money nor the time, and the businesses can't be inconvenienced for the amount of time that it would take to tear all that up. And there is the step system, which is a safer alternative, a quicker alternative, a less expensive alternative. And I've even had to talk to the water board about that because, believe it or not, even they're mixing apples and oranges together, and it doesn't make any sense unless your ultimate goal is to put in a full sewer system, and somebody's just not saying that. And like I say, I thought that we were done with that. We all realized we couldn't afford it, and there is a much less expensive and quicker alternative, and we need to take a hard look at it. But when you put that kind of information on the website, I look at that and I go, well, why do we need gravity sewer lines? So, yeah, my time is up, but you guys get the picture. We got to do a little better in letting everybody know what's going on and moving forward, not yesterday, but what are we doing tomorrow? Otherwise, we're not going to have a town pretty quick. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
I have no more cards.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to council consent calendar. Do I hear a motion? Two D? Okay. Okay. So, do I have a motion for everything except for 2D?
I'll move approval of everything else but 2D.
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye. Okay. So consider approving an amendment to the management contract between the Town of Paradise and the Butte Fire Safe Council, and consider approving an amendment to the contract between the Town of Paradise and Mountain Engineering for biological survey services. Colette, are you gonna?
Yes, I can speak to this item. So this is the,
D, David. Right,
This one from you?
No.
You're in minutes. Oh.
it's okay. Just take a minute, find where we are.
Go ahead.
Excellent. Well, good evening,
We'll let
Mayor
Woody
and
catch
Council.
up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item before you request to extend the not-to-exceed amount for this contract. This is, you're very familiar with this project. This is for the Category 4 tree program, the hazard mitigation grant program that is funded through FEMA. The issue here and why we need to extend this is that these estimates were done over 2 years ago when we thought this program was going to be imminently funded. Of course, that did not occur, and FEMA has extended this, unfortunately, for an additional 2 years. So during that time, costs not only have increased, but up to and including today, FEMA continues to give us additional items that are outside of our initial scope that we need to do to comply with this program. All of those extra items cost additional money. You will see that this does not exceed the budget for this. We're not asking to increase the budget overall because this project overall is actually under budget. So while we're increasing the not to exceed amount for this contract, we still remain under budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on that. Also, Brian Selecki, our project manager, is here for more
Questions?
detailed questions.
I have, but let Heidi go first.
I'm just curious why the shift now in these management responsibilities?
So there really is no shift in management responsibilities. These have, we have a contract that we have been working with. It's just the scope continues to change a bit based on what FEMA asks for over time. So as that has happened, we've realized we really cannot contain that within the not-to-exceed amount that we currently have.
Okay, so the responsibilities and the management are staying with who they always were. It's just
Yes. It's just the
extending.
amount.
Additional
Yes.
scope on this because of FEMA's requests.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. And Brian, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, council. Yeah, if you, excuse me, if you see the majority of the increase from, especially on the Butte Fire Safe Council, is in increased costs for our forester contract that's underneath the Butte Fire Safe Council. And that comes from when this budget was initially laid out 2 years ago. we were doing a little bit of guesswork on what FEMA was ultimately going to require of our process once we got the full environmental approval and the tree removal actually going. What we found after this original budget was created was that we have a much higher need for forester work, the registered professional forester, including the addition of technicians from the forester to be on site at all times when trees are being removed. And so the majority of the increase for the Fire Safe Council was to facilitate the requirements that were actually laid out when the environmental process was fully approved. And so nothing is shifting in terms of how the project is managing, the partnership between the town and Fire Safe Council. It's additional hours required by a registered professional forester in order to implement the project.
So,
Go ahead. Yours is probably.
so in round numbers, on this portion you're talking, we basically went from 300,000 to 550,000, is that?
For which portion?
What you're talking about, is that with the foresters? Because one aspect of this went from 296,000 to 500 and...
The forester contract went from 208 to 444, which is underneath the Fire Safe Council's
Okay, my
responsibility.
question, I understand working with FEMA or whoever the heck this is complicated, it's government. But what I don't understand is this Category 4 tree removal program is to take out the trees that are dead from the fire.
Correct.
Now, why do I need a registered forester to tell me a tree's dead when it's all black and blue and burnt up and laying on the ground? I don't get it.
Yeah, the foresters are actually the entity that oversees all the permitting required. They're not an arborist evaluating the trees.
Okay.
They're the ones who are our liaisons with CAL FIRE, overseeing all of our permits that are required for tree removal. They're the ones who are on the ground making sure.
Are they government employees?
No, it's a contractor. So.
What, 208 to 444, yeah.
Correct.
So when are the trees going to actually be taken down?
So as you know, we had another delay. We work with FEMA and we are given outlines on the process, and as we are all experience, those processes change. And I confess to my frustration with that. At the last council meeting, we talked about we were a few weeks away from starting, and then the process changed. FEMA retracted one of their approvals and laid out a new process that required a 30-day review for parcels that we did not expect. The good news is that we have 355 of the 375 parcels that are going to be submitted tomorrow to the State Historic Preservation Office for a 30-day review. So we anticipate that at the end of that 30-day review, the trees will start coming down.
So do we anticipate, so we've got, so my figures were, okay, on the registered foresters, we're adding $240,000.
Correct.
Are we going to have any other surprise? Because I mean, everything that we're coming through with everything that we're doing anymore, we seem to be really growing here, and it just is getting a little concerning.
Understood. You know, I'm a very fiscally conservative person, and probably to my detriment, I try to keep things as low as possible. Because we all know when we work with contractors, if you overestimate, typically that is used up. And so we don't anticipate any other increases. You know, the other side of this increase request for the mountain engineering was due to our estimate on the total number of active acres in the project, which when we estimated it, we came up with 689 acres. But when we actually got in the field and we reevaluated all the trees, it ended up being about 770 or so, and so that increased the cost there. So, and again, this is a not to exceed contract. We're hoping that we won't utilize all this, but the budget for all of this aspect of the project is about 3.1 million, and right now we're at about 2.2 million total for all the items.
So one other question is, what about the trees that are on property that people couldn't wait? They signed up, you went out there and put a tag on their tree, they had a private contractor take the tree down, or the tree fell down. I understand this whole thing about if the windstorms we've had knocked a dead tree down, even though it's got a little tag on it, some of these prevailing wage contractors are gonna get paid to take that tree out. It just, there's something abusive about this whole program. The fact that it hasn't happened and we're still living with the dead trees.
Correct.
You know, our residents that are maintaining their homes are getting citations if they're in violation of having dead wood on their lots, things. And yet we have these lots, empty lots in the program that are, it's just, I'm just so frustrated by this entire program. Sometimes it's really not worthwhile to get involved with FEMA. That's my opinion.
Well, I do have some good news from FEMA, if you want to hear some good news.
Get the money?
The retrofit project is moving along. We have the first 21 parcels that are involved in the residential retrofit program approved. We've actually issued our first 8 notice to proceeds for construction, and Tony Lindsay was telling me that permits have been pulled on those, and so that's moving forward. We also expect the next 29 houses in that program to be approved by the end of the week. So 50 of the 100 houses in that program are moving forward. So there's a little good news on one of our projects in the FEMA program.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Any other questions for Brian? Any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, council.
I'd like to move approval of this item.
I'll second.
Motion by Lassonde, seconded by Crowder. Councilmember Bowen is absent. Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
We dealt with 3, so public communication. For matters that are not on the council business agenda, speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the council. Any cards, Mooney?
I do. First card is from Melissa Schuster.
Good evening, council. I come to you with good news on Hope Plaza. I know everybody's been asking about that, so I wanted to let you know a couple things. We've been working very hard with Auto Construction, has been there with us since day one, and they are really pushing now. So we can expect to see some work. I believe the 20th of this month was the, provided that the weather's all good and everything, we should see some equipment out there for the next phase. We are anticipating if we can get we're anticipating and hoping, Tony, that we can get a temporary occupancy permit probably by the end of summer. Maybe? We'll see. We'll have to see how we do, right? The other thing is, did you hear him say that? I think I heard that too. And the other thing is that we are participating in the Make a Difference Day on April 25th. In speaking with, I'm blanking out on his name now, Aaron Singer, who is running Make a Difference Day, the Love Paradise thing that we're doing. This year is to be a kind of a thank you, a turning point in our history since the Camp Fire, and a thank you to all of those that have come into our community and helped us move forward and come to the point that we are, which is really, really wonderful. And with that in mind, we are working with PG&E to, they have a program called Right Tree, Right Place, and they will be coming to Hope Plaza and giving out plants and information, free plants and information and trees, which is really, really nice. And they have also agreed to, through the Right Tree, Right Place program, to fund our Hope Tree, which is the big tree in the center of the plaza. They are looking for a very large specimen, so we're hoping that it will be at least 20 feet. And they will install it and love it for a year. So I'm happy to say all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick one for you, Melissa. When you say temporary use permit, does that mean most of the stuff will be done? 90% of the stuff will be done? What are we talking about?
Yes.
When you ask for that?
Thank you,
CUP?
Ron, for that question. Yes, we're hoping to have the property in a usable space, a usable way. Hopefully midsummer, by the end of summer at least, but it's the landscaping and the planting that we, of course, don't want to do until fall.
Okay.
So we'll
With all the
have to see.
hardscape and all that
All
already?
the hardscape, all of, everything else should be
Okay.
in. Hopefully, we can take down the fencing.
The porta
and
potty
we
will be
can-
gone?
In the porta potty, we could take
Okay.
all that stuff down and have a usable site. And then, maybe Love Paradise, when is it in fall? We do something in fall, or even the anniversary, I don't know, but we would love to get the community together and help us plant daffodils. Oh, PG&E is also going to, the Right Place, Right Tree, Right Place program is going to donate a whole bunch of daffodils for us too. So we're looking forward to getting the community together and plant some daffodils and plants and make Hope Plaza happen.
I just hope that on my next PG&E bill, I don't get one of those little cards saying they're asking for another rate increase to help fund Hope Plaza.
Wait.
Well, you know how that's what they do. No, that's good news.
No, it is, again, it's time for us to change the narrative and to move away from being victims into being victors.
Yeah.
And healing is part of it. I mean, PG&E has, yes, we all know what happened, but at the same time, the workers that have been in our community and helping us underground and doing all of the work that PG&E has done for us, they're our citizens too. They're our residents, and they're our citizens, and it's time that we acknowledged the good. So, that's it.
Very well put.
Thanks, Melissa. Any more cards?
Next card for John Ramaya.
Good evening, council. I've got three things. I'll give a minute apiece and keep it short. Number one, this year, our fuel loading is our grasses are approximately 20% higher than they were May 1 last year. Last year, we had heavy loading. We've got 3 test tracks that we actually go out and measure every week. And it's gonna dry out. The second thing is, every time you guys send out your letters telling people to get ready, we get an influx of calls. What we are seeing this year is some people have said, well, I'm having to pay $500-600 a month for my RV space and all this. I'm struggling. And I see some of these block grants and this kind of stuff. Can we look into that a little more, get some type of assistance? I can't do many more for cost or below cost. We need to see if some of these, we gave away $100,000 this year to other nonprofits because we couldn't get anybody qualified. Whether we have to lobby whoever makes these rules, or, from what I understand, we have lobbyists both in Washington and Sacramento. Some of these people are, having challenges. The last thing is, recently we had a piece of property that was on the town's abatement list. As they got there, we were already contracted to do it, which is fine. I got a call saying, okay, don't do it, they're gonna do it themselves. An hour later, I get a call from their contractor, and their contractor said, you know what, I can't get to it in the time frame the town's given us. We wanna hire you to do it. I gave them the same price as what I was gonna do for the town. On that property, there were 3 18-inch and larger down trees that had the little orange tags on them for the tree program. It took me a total of 17 minutes to grind up those trees. And we're paying a contractor $500 a tree. Something isn't right. I wanted the property to look good, when we got done, and it didn't take me much time. I'm not complaining about that at all, but we need to look at some of this stuff and how we're spending money, because $500 a tree, I wouldn't be working. Thank you.
Next card, Ben Sprague.
Surprised, you did a great job. Most people say Spragu or something else. So thank you, Mayor and council members, for this opportunity and for the work you do. My name is Ben, and I'm a property owner and a representative today here for about 70-plus Paradise residents, property owners, and business owners, among others. As a child, my grandfather, who was a teacher, foreman, and owner, builder, told me the importance of raising the barn first. This is in line with the old wisdom found in Proverbs 24:27. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. We have the end of an emergency ordinance this month. This has brought to my attention in recent months something which I believe is a necessary change. Before burdening you with any requests, and to make sure this aligns with the desires of the greater population of the town of Paradise, I wanted to do some preliminary research. I reached out to all of my neighbors and about 70-plus property owners, business owners, and residents. I also very briefly spoke to not our fire chief, but the Butte Cal fire chief, as well as very briefly to our police chief. You and I can all agree that it is imperative all property owners maintain their properties to reduce any fire danger. It is also important that we have zoning codes which prevent industrial uses in residential areas, and as defined in the landmark decision in 1926, Eclude versus Amber Realty Co., promote public health, safety, and welfare. That being said, I proposed a simple question. Should Paradise allow for sheds for maintenance on vacant lots before rebuilding? Personally, I, like many property owners, live outside of Paradise. I store and maintain my equipment in my permitted 10 by 14 maintenance shed, which has electricity, a workbench, shelving, and security cameras. I am in the pre-developmental process of building. Without this structure, it is very difficult to maintain equipment in an apartment with a wife and 2 small kids, as well as haul it up to Paradise throughout the year. Several property maintenance companies reiterated the same concern brought to them by many of their customers. Among the people I spoke to, 100% of the respondents, not counting 2 individuals who disagreed, but for particular reasons I left out, that a maintenance structure with proper limitations was viable, posed no danger, and no significant increase in fire or police costs. As a town, we are in dire need to rebuild by limiting legitimate residential structures on residential properties, particularly a maintenance structure. We are hindering our ability and discriminating against lower to lower middle class owners in favor of a restrictive rebuild order. I request that you consider changing the zoning code to allow for property owners to build a maintenance structure with limitations, giving back this small amount of property freedom to the people to encourage a broader, less restrictive rebuild process which aligns with the includes public health, safety, and welfare, and, as Proverbs says, allow us to get our fields ready before building our house.
I have no more cards.
Okay. So, public hearing. Consider waiving the first reading of the Town of Paradise Ordinance Number 645 and read by title only, and introduce Town of Paradise Ordinance 645, an ordinance adding Section 9.70 to the Paradise Municipal Code relating to military equipment. And this is Chief Feinbold.
Good evening, Council. This is just our annual military ordinance report that we've submitted in the agenda packet for your review. If you look through there, it itemizes what the state of California considers government equipment, which would be our less lethal shotguns that, shoot the projectiles for trying to deal with individuals that, lethal force isn't warranted, and our drones and other tools and equipment that we use. So I believe, Scott, you can fill me in here, but with the first reading, I don't know if it's for public comment or this is introducing it to the public so they have 30 days to review it and then we bring it back.
So with an item like this, I would actually suggest that if anyone does have public comments today, that you receive them, but they also have, members of the public have 30 days to provide additional comments. When this comes back on the subsequent agenda, you can then comment again as well. So.
And there's really no changes for this last calendar year. Any questions?
State didn't change any of your ways you could use your equipment? They didn't change your methods or anything like that?
Not necessarily, but that's a deeper conversation when it comes to some of the
I
Ninth
don't wanna
Circuit
get into it.
decisions.
Yeah, I don't
But,
wanna get into that, so.
Ultimately, I think the big change in the last year was that the federal government said that we don't have to do this annual reporting anymore. However, under SB 54, the state still requires that we do that.
Did we get a robot dog yet?
No,
Real dogs.
real dogs.
Real dogs, better yet.
Which
Okay.
are not military equipment, by the way. Or they're not. Dogs are not.
Any other questions for the chief?
So,
No, we're going to open
They're
public
opening it
comment.
up.
Okay.
It's 7:02. We're going to open this up for public comment. Any cards on it, Melanie?
I have no cards on this item.
Anybody in the public like to speak on this? Okay, hearing none at 7:02, we'll close public comment and bring it back to council.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Lassonde. Councilmember Bowen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde.
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Council consideration, item 6A, consider waiving the first reading of the entire town ordinance number 646 and read by title only and introduce town ordinance 646, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Paradise adopting the updated CAL FIRE 2025 local response area maps. Susan?
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Good evening, council. So this agenda item is about an updated local responsibility area, which we refer to as LRA, Fire Hazard Zone map. And so just a little bit of local history for us with these LRA maps. The process started in 2008 when the state started mapping local responsibility areas, and that's at the time that Paradise was first identified as a very high fire severity zone. We adopted that map in 2010 as part of our 2010 building code adoption. And then you can find that declaration in Title 15 of the municipal code. And then we've just reaffirmed it every 3 years with each subsequent building code adoption. So listed here, 13, 16, 19, 22. And we'll be coming back again this fall for the 2025 building codes. And the reason that we bring those together is because if you are identified in any fire hazard zone, whether it be moderate, high, very high, then there's portions of the building code that apply to you, those WUI codes, right? The Wildland Urban Interface. So that's why we we reaffirm, we adopt the code. This time, or in 2025, the governor issued an executive order in early February requiring that the state fire marshal push out these updated fire hazard severity zone maps. It's been 17 years since we've had a new one for this area. And then because it's off cycle from when we would normally be just adopting it at the end of the year, there's requirements that we do this now within a certain time frame, but it'll be embedded again at the end of the year with the 2025 building code. So you'll see it twice this year. And then I'm going to go back to the beginning here. So this is the map for California on that rollout. So the North State maps were all pushed out in February, and then SoCal came out in March. So whole state right now is doing the same process that we're doing. For anybody who's in a local responsibility area, the state responsibility area, which are outside the incorporated areas, they went through this in 2023. So in a snapshot, these are the maps. On the left is the map we've been using and reaffirming since 2010. And it's called the 2008 to 2011 map because it literally took years for that to roll out statewide, where Paradise was identified as a very high fire severity zone. In the new 2025 map, we are as well, but all this additional area around us has also been added. This now includes some areas of Chico and other incorporated jurisdictions nearby are now going to be incorporating these WUI requirements into their building process as well. And then just to understand in context, this is the state responsibility area, the SRA that surrounds the town, because when you look at these maps, it may be misleading that only Paradise is this hazard area, but everything around it is good. It's just because there's two different maps. Everything that surrounds Paradise is part of the SRA on this map, and you can see that salmon color, that's all very high fire severity also. So everything surrounding the town has that same designation as well. And again, that map was from 2 years ago. So the adoption timeline that came out with this is under state mandate, right, is that the local jurisdictions need to make the map available for public review and comment for 30 days. So we pushed it out between February 23rd and March 24th. And then we have 4 months from the date this map was released, and for us, that was February 10th. All of Butte County's maps were released then. We have 4 months to hold these hearings to adopt an ordinance that reaffirms this new map specifically. So this ordinance is going to call it the 2025 LRA map. So our deadline to get through a second hearing, because it's an ordinance, is June 10th. And then 30 days after that, we need to forward a copy of that signed ordinance back to the state to show we complied. If you don't adopt the map, it is imposed upon you. All it does is then jeopardize other funding sources to you potentially.
Who'd have thought?
So this is the map for Paradise, where everything's shown as the very high fire severity zone. And again, this map is about hazard. And the hazard is a 50-year outlook on the likelihood of wildfire. And that is based on multiple things, and we see some of them listed here, right? The biggie is topography, weather, proximity to wildland. And it's really about that rating reflecting potential ember and fire intrusion from the wildlands that surround us. It's not necessarily what's inside of our jurisdictional boundaries, but also what surrounds us and can come in. And then you'll see, or it was in the staff report, it quotes the government code section that says that jurisdiction can adopt a higher fire rating than what is being recommended from the state, but you cannot downgrade what the recommendation is from the state fire marshal. So if there was something more than very high, which thankfully there's not, but you could adopt that, but you can't go lower. So tonight, the council action requested would be to waive the first reading of that ordinance and then introduce the ordinance to adopt that updated 2025 LRA fire hazard severity zone map. It would come back to you next month for adoption, and then we'd send that off to the state fire marshal's office to show compliance. And again, we would embed the same language that you see in that ordinance when we come back later this year and adopt the new building codes.
So let me get this right.
Yes.
If we don't adopt this, it jeopardizes our funding.
Certain funding that has to do with firefighter response funding that's federal, that could jeopardize that, correct?
Yeah. Okay. That's one. Two,
Yeah.
you're saying that we're in a very high severity zone, and they come up with that because of what's around us, or
Oh,
because?
that's part of it, right? So it's fire history, it's geography, it's weather.
Okay, do they know that we've already been through a fire and that we are a whole lot better than we were before?
Yes, but they also look outside of our jurisdiction by what we're surrounded by, and it's a 50-year outlook Could fire still come into the town from outside of its jurisdictional boundaries and
This will
threaten
not
us?
be, this will not be like this again. I mean, it won't be like that again.
Right.
There's no way. One, and two, this affects our insurance. This is exactly what they look at when they do our insurance. And they go, do you know what zone you're in? We have, if we can't get this thing to where, because they won't get out of their vehicles and go walk and look at our town. And because they won't do that, we're stuck with this map, and I don't agree with this. 100% don't agree with this. I know you're the wrong one to be saying
No,
this to.
no,
but
no,
it is-
I certainly hear that.
You know, and to Greg's point, I've talked to fire people, fire scientists, and when you go through what we went through, and even our surrounding areas, yeah, Magalia is a different story, but, I mean, they know that, I mean, this is bogus. This, whatever criteria, this is, they know, I mean, I don't care if everything coming up to us like it did in the campfire isn't there, it all burned up. I mean, yeah, there's some scrub brush coming back, but I mean, what happened then won't and everything in this town, we have weed ordinance, we have, you know, all the buildings are built safer. I mean, this is ridiculous. We are not a high-risk fire danger anymore, and Greg's right. I mean, that's why we can't get insurance. That's why we're having to pay thousands of dollars for little and no insurance. It's just, whoever the state fire marshal is, I'd like to have a conversation with him, you know? As a matter of fact, if you provide me, I'll look them up. I'll look them up. This is ludicrous, because they know, their fire science knows it. We're not that. We don't have that potential. It's absolutely.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
The LRA causes us to change or add it to our building codes. On the SRA, does the state do anything different with it? Are they going to go out there and help clear up some of that danger that's out there that could get to us? What's the SRA do for us in Paradise that forces the state to do something or doesn't?
Right, so in the unincorporated areas, and the county also has a fire prevention bureau. They do defensible space inspections. It just, there's a level it would appear that it has to rise to for the state to acknowledge it. And again, these are long-term outlooks. The hope is and the goal is that they'll be updating these maps more frequently and that it's not this 17-year gap between maps.
Do we have any insight to the areas surrounding the town that the county is doing or the state is doing to reduce our fire risk? Because as Woody's pointed out, the fire came in from outside our town. It didn't start on our perimeter.
Sure. I only know locally for Butte County because our fire prevention staff actually coordinates with them, because that's CAL FIRE, right, for some of the mapping that we use and the inspection. So we know that they are out also doing inspections for those sites as well. It may not be as big of a program as the towns, but they do defensible space.
Okay. Chief, you want to add to that? My concern is we're doing all kinds of things inside the town to reduce our fire risk. Is the same level of energy being done outside of our town that could potentially burn into our town?
Absolutely, good question. And yeah, I understand the frustration. I did not make the map, so bear with me. And like Susan explained, and if I could read real quick, just an excerpt from a frequently asked question document, but it basically says the fire hazard severity zone map evaluates hazard, not risk. The map is like flood zone maps, where lands are described in terms of the probability level of a particular area being inundated by floodwaters and not specifically the perceptive of impacts. Hazard is based on the physical conditions that create a likelihood of expected fire behavior over a 30 to 50-year period without considering the mitigating measures such as home hardening, recent wildfire, or fuel reduction efforts.
Without.
Without, yes.
That's what's wrong. That's a flying.
And I don't disagree with you necessarily. I can tell you, just being a fire professional, to say it's never going to happen again, that's a tough thing to say. And what you've done in the town is a tremendous effort. You know, the homes are hardened now. You have the clearance. You have the defensible space. The land surrounding Paradise, we don't necessarily control the lands. We protect them, right? As state private lands, that's what CAL FIRE does. We don't control the lands. We do fuels reduction efforts in there when we can cooperate with the towns and the property owner and the fire safe councils, but we don't own the land specifically. So to say if there's any efforts being made, you know, these maps do affect the rest of the county as far as building codes in the county areas that fall within those SRA areas, but,
You can't say never, I get that.
Yeah.
But the likelihood is completely changed from where it was before
you have a
2018.
different fuel model, absolutely.
Absolutely different. I mean, it isn't even close to the same as before.
Correct.
One, two, did you or anybody from CAL FIRE in this area have any input on this map?
No, we do not, no. No,
How, they just come up with it on their own? They don't ask input
I
from
don't-
anybody?
Well, no, and they're very aware of Paradise. Everybody in CAL FIRE is very aware. It's the land use planning department that's within the Office of State Fire Marshal. They use their own fire modeling, their hazard assessments. You know, it's done out of Sacramento. They do come out, they do look at the fuel types. They're very familiar with it, topography, weather, fuels, those are the three main factors. So, yeah, I agree with the frustration, and you mentioned, you know, wanting to speak with them. More than willing to carry that message forward. We could write a letter
absolutely.
for that, and I understand the insurance concern, right? That's a valid
It's
concern. Huge.
So let me go on that. So just as soon as this map came out, our insurance commissioner, Laura, came out and said, these maps are not used by the insurance company for fire rating. Not that I believe that, but he does. And again, I was just in Altadena last Monday, and this was a conversation that came up there as well.
Yeah, I think it's.
Chief, you mentioned that. What did you read from that definition?
It's just out of a frequently asked
Is
questions.
that from like the State Fire Marshal's office?
Yes, it's on the fire.
Okay, and what's interesting in that is they made the analogy, the comparison to like flood zones on their modeling. Okay, the difference is that I, as a homeowner, if I live in Durham in a flood zone, I can buy homeowner's insurance at a reasonable price. And if I want protection for flood insurance, I pay an additional thing for that additional rider. We don't have that option to buy wildfire insurance. You know, it's like, so I can't get homeowner's insurance. So why don't they change those rules? And I was told there's something that has to do with the state to do that. I mean, if that would be a solution for us rebuilding our community and anybody in one of these mapped zones. If we could buy homeowner's insurance, if my kitchen stove catches on fire, I'm covered. If the wildfire comes in and burns down my house, unless I buy that additional coverage, I'm not covered. But see, that's a common sense solution to a problem, and unfortunately,
You do it with earthquake.
Yeah, we do it with
You do it with
earthquake, we do it
flood.
with floods, why can't we do it with the wildfires?
Yeah, but anyway, he's not the one to ask about that. He's standing there.
I don't
with a
necessarily disagree with you
Grin
at
on
all.
his face, but there's nothing he can do about that.
Yeah.
But one question I do have, Susan, is there's no difference if we're in this severity zone as opposed to a high, not very high, but high. It doesn't change our building codes.
Sorry. You are correct. Even if we were downgraded to moderate, we're still building to WUI.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So
Yes.
it doesn't increase, decrease, or anything. Okay. Thank you. I just.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Susan or the
I think
chief?
we beat him up pretty good.
So, cards, Melanie?
I have one card by Ken Shear.
Just wanted you guys, this is a question for you guys. Is there an appeal process, and is there a way to reduce the severity that CAL FIRE will approve of? Or what are the methods? Have they reduced fire severity areas in the past? If so, where? Thank you. If you can, I'll leave this here, maybe you can use it.
So appeals can be made directly to the State Fire Marshal's office, and it's also on the FAQs, and it talks about while it's not common for them to approve of a change of a recommendation, there is a process to go through the board and do that.
And so, so if we don't adopt this, what funding does it possibly jeopardize?
It possibly jeopardizes the Fire Management Assistance Grant, which is federal assistance for firefighting costs.
For firefighting costs?
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna
Is that
be-
a bad thing, Chief?
Yes, sir.
And the only reason I'm asking, I mean, I agree with Greg 100%. And I just think we're a unique situation. We had probably the deadliest wildfire in all of California's history. We're a model for recovery of that. LA and Southern California, we're a prime banner carrier to push back. I mean, nobody ever pushes back, and government just does this stuff, and it's, you know, I don't know. That's the radical in me. I'm sorry. I just, it would be nice to say no and then say, and this is all the reasons why. Because y'all aren't being fair to us.
So I'll move approval. I mean, there's nothing we can do. We got to do it.
Yeah, that's-
But I'd definitely like to appeal it somehow, if we could go through that process. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know that's not part of the approval, but I'd like to go through that. Good.
I'll second the approval, and I concur that we should ask the question. I mean, all we can do is ask, and all I can say is no, but I don't want to jeopardize the funding that you need for firefighting. We just can't risk that.
So I think the town can write a letter, and we all sign.
Yep.
Yeah, the chair that forward.
Yeah.
Well, tell them to get up here and look. I mean, look at what we've done up here. I mean, it's, whatever.
Too late, we got a
We got a motion.
Sorry about that.
Motion by Bullen,
And it's been seconded.
seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bullen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye with prejudice.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan.
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And staff will take clear direction to follow through on investigating this appeal process.
Thank you.
Yeah, but-
I appreciate
Please write
that.
a letter.
We'll sign it.
I think we should go down.
So, item 6B, consider adopting resolution number 2025-25, resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Paradise awarding construction contract 8404 Campfire Hydrant Repair Project. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. We are excited to go ahead and move forward with the repair of fire hydrants damaged by the 2018 Camp Fire. Obviously, you're well aware the process to get to this point has taken some time. We opened bids a few weeks ago and have reviewed those bids. We are pleased to report that RCI Engineering is the lowest bidder on the project. They have obviously extensive experience working on behalf of Paradise Irrigation District for their laterals replacement projects, and I believe maybe even a couple of mains projects as well. So with that, we are looking forward for the council to award the contract, which is funded through FEMA public assistance funds, and as well as a additional match through the Cal OES public assistance part as well. So our local percentage is about 6.25%. And with that, we are looking to route contracts as soon as we award and get work going this summer. We'll have extensive coordination with Paradise Irrigation District staff who will be visiting project sites to repair the hydrants, as well as also coordinating with our paving contracts to make sure that we're not looking at excavating into some recently paved areas. I believe there's 2 locations that require some kind of enhanced coordination to make sure the timing of the hydrant repairs matches the timing of the paving effort. So with that, the information for the contract details are in the council agenda item, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So are we still 75-25 even with that lower bid?
Yes.
So
So-
that doesn't change?
No,
We just
so
save-
actually-
We save the government money?
Yes, so we came in under budget at 75% FEMA, 25% local match, but there also is a 75% match at the state level, so the town's portion ends up being about 6.25%.
Okay, and we get a thank you card from them or something that?
No.
So is this just to repair the hydrants, Mark?
Yes, so we have to
Dig in the
actually
road?
repair, we have to dig into the road and connect, a new connection in many cases to the main
Okay.
to repair the whole
I
lateral.
want to make sure that in this contract, because I'm glad RCI is a low bidder, but some of the work being done on this undergrounding for PID, for PG&E by some of these subcontractors that are doing their own paving and temporary patches and permanent patches is substandard. When they drive off the job site, it's substandard. And we're tired of driving through these things. And I know there are tolerances and if things are within it, but I mean, I can look at permanent patches that have sunk because there wasn't. So I want to make sure that our contracts have some language where we can make sure that if they drive off the job and that patch is substandard, that they're going to come back and fix it. It's not going to be like that for a month or 2 or 3 or 6.
Right.
Because that's what's happening in town, especially.
Yep.
And they're one of the outfits that has got some substandard work out there.
Okay, so when it comes to temporary work, certainly if you're seeing an issue exist over multiple weeks and a patch needs to be maintained, that's one thing, please do let us know. When it comes to permanent work, if you're seeing substandard conditions from a recently repaired patch on permanent work that's failing, absolutely let us know. These contractors and utilities, they own the trenches that they dig in, and we are glad to follow up. We have that language in our contracts and our
Okay, good. I just want to
now.
make sure it's in the contract.
Yep.
And I would encourage that our on-sites or on our staff that are charged with that, report these things too, because I know it's really hard, you're busy, there's a lot going on when the guys are out there and you drive over a permanent patch, it's sunk, it's only sunk a little bit, but it's a permanent patch and it shouldn't have sunk at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Please do let us know, and we're always on the lookout for issues like that, so thank you.
Yeah, Mark, I need to get on my soapbox here on this one. My number one issue as a council member is the life safety of our residents. The fact that FEMA awarded this contract back in 2020, now we're 5 years later, where we're putting the hydrants out. And again, I'm not putting the blame on you and all that, but I just think that's unconscionable that we took this long for fire hydrants. That's part of our life-saving equipment we have out there to protect our residents. And this should not be 5 years after FEMA. We know how long it takes us to get the money for FEMA after we put in the request, and then we can finally do something. This has been sitting there for that long. It's just, we should not have been in this position that we're waiting 5 years to put it out there. But I thank you for bringing it to us, the council, as quickly as you did, so we can get it awarded and we can get those hydrants replaced. So our fire department has the equipment they need. We know what happened down south where their fire hydrants ran out of water. Well, this is even worse. We have hydrants that don't even work. There's no matter how much water we had, they couldn't work. So thank you for getting on this and getting it to us.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Lassonde. I appreciate that. There's always more to the story as well. We've been working with Paradise Irrigation District for many years on this project. At one point, they were asked and preferred to be the lead agency to deliver this project on behalf of the town. That tune changed. The town took over. We designed the project. We're out to bid. We're ready to build. Okay.
Any other questions for Mark? Do I hear a motion?
So we have cards or?
I have no cards on this item.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Bullen, seconded by Lassonde. Councilmember Bullen?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Item 6C, consider approving the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Action Plan. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor Crowder and Council. It's my pleasure to bring forward the CDBG DR Infrastructure Action Plan Amendment Number 3. If you do recall, the Town of Paradise was awarded $199 million out of a $317 million available allocation as a result of the 2018 presidentially declared disasters for California wildfires. So with that, we were able to submit really an extensive list that this council adopted and prioritized with us in partnership and scoping after our preparation of our community long-term recovery plan as well as our transportation master plan. We submitted 60 projects valued over $900 million. We went ahead and started this action plan process to really document how those funds will be used, and it was intended to always be a living document updated during budget processing, and then also when critical issues arise requiring council action, such as changes to our project list as well as project costs. When we look at the history of the action plan, it was originally adopted in September of 2022, amendment number 1 in December of 2022. Then we had a major amendment back in January of 2024, which had some additional budget, some new grant awards that we were successful on and be able to broaden our scope. With that, Action Plan Amendment 3 is necessary because we have a couple of issues, one of those being a surplus on the Pence Road project between Pearson and Skyway. The sewer project has been well documented and discussed in council meetings in earlier, even this evening, as well as other previous meetings, where that project is in the construction phase is nearly entirely unfunded. We are targeting a phase 1 of an amount still to be determined. Our road projects, again, a long-term effort to provide an additional east-west transportation corridor somehow, some way between Pence Road and Skyway. Phase 1 and 2, with recent estimates, the more we learn getting through and closer to starting design in environmental, we see that that project was higher than originally estimated. So, as well as the Elliott Nunnally cost increases, Potentially extending Elliott or Nunnally Road over to Pence, still a valuable project that needs to be pursued. Oliver Curve leveraging ATP grant was not awarded for the fourth time. Our off-system road rehab improved project needed some augmentation as well in case the actual costs come a little bit higher. We want to be able to use these CDBG-DR funds to fulfill our match requirements, and I'll have more on that in a minute. But again, our other projects here on this list and shown on this map, in general, we're seeing project costs, especially for project delivery and development, but in addition to construction costs being increased about 20 to 30% from where they were when these projects were originally scoped back in 2021. Understanding critical priorities based on previous council discussions and actions, we are really seeking to use the CDBG-DR funds to fulfill our normally required local matching requirements, as well as for our recovery projects. In addition, we're looking to deliver council prioritized listing of projects which address long-term recovery plan objectives and obtain and implement leveraging funds to ensure the overall universe of these projects is to the highest benefit in the most efficient way possible. So with that, the action plan amendment number 3 was prepared with the following approach, really trying to make sure that we fulfill those match requirements first, address those leverage projects. So for example, the Pence Road widening and pathway, there's additional external funds, Skyway widening and pathway, additional external funds, and the Neal Road pathway. So making sure that we can follow through, deliver those very high merit projects that will certainly benefit the town of Paradise for generations to come. So, and then for priority number 3 is really what we were discussing, and I'll recap our special meeting here earlier this last month. But we're looking at really these kind of listing of projects on what to do between the allocation and the Paradise Sewer Project, Railroad Phase 1 and 2, Elliott Nunnally Extension, the Oliver Curve Pathway, Foster Black Olive intersection improvements, and the Forest Service road improvements. We held that special town council meeting on March 17th, 2025. We reviewed the project increases, we evaluated these priorities and affirmed the priorities that we discussed on the previous slide, and then reviewed 4 key alternatives that really allow the community to review what is our goal, as well as, we'd like to do all of it, but certainly understanding these budgets are constrained without the use of local funds to augment these projects, is that we have to work within the amount that we were allocated. And so with the revised estimates, we presented 4 different distinct alternatives. First one being essentially nixing the Elliott Nunnally extension, the Foster Black Olive intersection improvements, and the Forest Service road extension project, and then fully funding everything else. Alternative 2 essentially does not deliver the Oliver Curve project, but then allocates $20 million in addition to the sewer project. And then alternatives 3 and 4 really did look at removing more from the infrastructure work plan and dedicating those excess funds to the sewer project. We heard back from the community and the council in that special meeting that we should continue addressing priorities number 1 and 2, delivering the match requirements, delivering the heavily leveraged projects. Everything moving on in this presentation, and again, just as it was in the special meeting, assumes these to be true and factual as we go forward. Now let's hit on the Row Road Extension project. Again, this was identified in the Transportation Master Plan as the top priority of the town to address the highest concentration of transportation-related fatalities associated with the 2018 Camp Fire. It is consistent with our 94 general plan. It adds that additional east-west connector between the evacuation routes. And again, I'll remind everybody here, alignments shown here are not selected. We definitely recognize that future exhibits will be clearer on this. What we are recommending is pivoting instead of a Phase 1 project, which would have connected Pence Road to South Libby, is really taking a step back and scoping this project down to really address the highest priority, which is getting the extension over to Clark. And defer Phase 1B between Pence and Edgewood. That bridge is massive. There's different options there as far as the size and the location of that bridge, but we know that it's outside of our ability to deliver the projects with the funds secured. So with that deferral, we are able to look at a comprehensive list of alternatives on ways to connect Edgewood to Sawmill to South Libby, which then ties into Phase 2. So what you're seeing here on the right side of this screen are really, 4 different unique alternatives that could connect from point A to point B. You could look further more at the midpoint between between the terminus of South Libby and Pearson Road, connecting maybe Roy or Running Deer, Wolf Lane to Frontier Road, Keller Lane, some sort of extension, or at the terminus of South Libby from Bennett to the terminus almost of Edgewood. So those options are not even being considered or selected tonight. What we do know is that in Phase 1A and the revised project cost estimate of $22 million, we believe that we can come through with a project that accomplishes these objectives, and the actual selection of the alignment would go forward in the environmental review process, public noticing, public meetings, engagement, finding out pros and cons, mitigation factors, neighborhood sensitivity, and then even at that point, the council could ultimately decide this is not a project of interest for us, and we could shelve the project and take the excess funds and dedicate them elsewhere. So really excited to present Phase 1A as a way to help make the system work. So I have this slide that is a little complicated, but the strikeout in red is really the changes that we're removing, and the additional orange language there about Phase 1 is the revision of what we're adding. So Phase 1 will be from Edgewood to South Libby, revised estimate of $22 million, alignment not selected. Phase 2, with this action plan amendment, we can retain our $33 million allocation by the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program through the California Transportation Commission. It uses savings from Phase 1 to build and supplement on Phase 2, where our project is not dependent on other grant applications. Right now, we have a $25 million build grant application at the federal DOT. Whether or not that is selected, this project can move forward with this plan. If the project is selected for build funding, we would be extremely, extremely grateful, because then we can, again, do another action plan amendment, which reallocates that $25 million award to other projects outside of the Road project. Right now, the council adopted a plan to commit $3.8 million of matching funds for the build grant. So obviously, if we don't need the build grant to deliver these projects, that $3.8 million of local pro funds could be used elsewhere. But certainly, if we do have a build award, we'll explore our ability to use the CDBG-DR as the local match, but there is sometimes an issue with matching federal funds with other federal funds. Okay, so I know I'm going quickly and saying a lot of words, so I'll try and pace it, but really trying to bring it back to the closing of the special meeting and why we're here tonight and the changes since then. Alternative 2 was essentially the consensus of the council and the community. The goals of Alternative 2 would be to revise the railroad alignment or the corridor project, to increase this allocation of the sewer project by $20 million, make sure that we can deliver all of our heavily leveraged projects, and then really kind of defers advancing the Oliver Curve, the Elliott Nunnally, the Forest Black Olive intersection, as well as the Forest Service Road extension until further notice. Here's what that looks like from an accounting perspective on our Excel spreadsheet. Really, what you're seeing is that on the top half of this spreadsheet, priorities 1 through 9, here on the left, and then the lower 1 through 9 with the M in front of it designates the matching projects. And so what Alternative 2 really communicates is that our original priorities are affirmed, and that in this constrained universe where we need to stretch the dollars to deliver the highest benefit projects, that we're looking at deferring efforts on the priorities 6, 7, 8, and 9. With that, council did provide staff direction to bring back Alternative 2, which explores options to address the highest area of concern for the Oliver Curve project, as well as any ability to advance the Forest Service Road extension project. For the Oliver Curve project, we went back to the drawing board, looked at different alternatives, made site visits, examined the existing conditions of what bicyclists and pedestrians are being forced to choose. And the answer is from a lot of bad options, especially they're close to Skyway approaching this curve. We've submitted this project 4 times for the Active Transportation Program funds. Usually we've been very successful in bringing these funds back. Our project and our story of recovery is getting to a point where we really need more compelling connections of destinations where people have residential neighborhood here and destinations here, where at this point we're just not competing well in the statewide competition for the project. So with that, we even tried expanding the limits to connect all the way to Billy Park, which was the original intent in phasing the project. But when we take a look at this curve, we're not eligible for a highway safety improvement program that's, really based on awarding from actual collisions or injury data. And for some reason, our project just is not scoring as high as our other ones have.
You don't think we're being blackballed?
What's that?
You don't think we're being blackballed?
Absolutely not. We've got a sterling reputation for delivering projects for the region, for the state. The town per capita has blown out, any community in California for this program.
Right.
And it's just, I think, no matter how we frame this project, it's just not competing well against bigger communities at this point with higher populations where, they're maybe trying to go with a train overcrossing where hundreds of pedestrians or even more pedestrians are depending on this infrastructure where, on a given day for this project, if we're talking about $10 million, our pedestrian count might be a handful a day.
Right.
And so it's really difficult, but we do our best. We've got a great team that prepares great grant applications. But at the end of the day, the program itself has been cut. When we received our last tranche of funds for Pence, for Neil, for Skyway, I believe there was over $1 billion available for this program. And this most recent cycle, Louis, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was $150 million. And so it was really cut way back with the budget cuts from the state. And so not only is our sewer project being affected, every type of state funding has been affected by the budget cuts, and the result is less projects get built.
Bad for us, but I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
We need to be cutting back in the state.
So with that, I do have a recommendation, but I just want to make sure that you understand we heard you and you're requesting a phased approach to address the highest area of concern between Skyway and Valley View. I also mentioned that there was a desire to bring back any options for the Forest Service Road Extension project. Oh, I'm sorry, please disregard that top paragraph. That is not true. It's not eligible for active transportation program funds. But we will keep this on our list for implementation of potential evacuation route projects. We'd like to see, increase the response times for our daily first responders through Station 35, but also in an emergency, it could be valuable to connect motorists between Skyway and Clark, north of Wagstaff and south of the intersection of Skyway and Clark. When it comes to the recommendations after we look at selecting alternative 2, and what we're bringing back before you tonight is a revised action plan amendment which comes up with some sort of solution to keep Oliver Curve in the fold as we continue to develop these projects. As I mentioned in the special meeting, we are in the beyond concept, but we haven't really started design on most of these projects, so we know very, very little about how much they will truly cost. But as we know more with these higher estimates, there could be a potential that there is excess, or I mentioned earlier that if the build grant comes through, maybe there's ability to reallocate funds from the Road project to Oliver Curve. And if that's the case, what we're recommending and doing with this plan is keeping $1.25 million for the Oliver Curve to complete design in this critical section. So with that, if the CDBG-DR funds become available, it would be the first project to be fully funded in a future action plan amendment. And then in the worst case, where we have a fully designed project and no construction funds, we will continue to be more competitive right now, because that's also something that grant awarding agencies will look at is how shovel ready is your project. Right now, we need to go through environmental, we need to finish design, and it's going to be at least 2 years out. If we're able to submit a grant application, say design's done, right away is clear, we just need to build it and help us with the funds to do so, maybe we'll be more competitive at that time. And then if all of that else fails, maybe the town can consider this is a priority for us if we want to fund it locally. And then so when it comes to the Forest Service Road project, we had a lot of discussions about that at a staff level, working with our consultants, and then internally is if we try and apply the same plan for the Forest Service Road project, we see the cost being extremely high due to the nature of the private road. The town really have no easements in the area, and so the delivery costs are going to be high. And so if we essentially take money from another project to allocate it here, we're really putting that other project at risk. And so I can't really recommend that in good faith, in addition to what we're doing for the Oliver Curve project. So your staff report and the attached agenda summary, the full action plan included, has a project-by-project breakdown where we're really trying to do a better job of noting the changes between two versions of a document. So you'll see this, the project title here on this slide, Action Plan Amendment 2 of what the CDBG-DR funds were on, and that Action Plan Amendment 2, what we're recommending tonight with Action Plan Amendment 3, the net change, and then some notes. So I mentioned earlier, design, no changes for the design funds on the sewer project, but we are allocating additional $20 million to the sewer project, which is very, very helpful. We're modifying the scope for Railroad Phase 1A. Those savings are essentially going to Phase 2, increasing the budget there. The Pence Road project, our budget is being reallocated through pretty much everything else that we're seeing project costs go up, whether it's $1.1 million for the Pence Pathway or $6 million for the Skyway connectivity project between Billy and Wagstaff. And then I mentioned earlier, we're deferring until further notice. Again, we will continue to advocate and try and secure funds for valuable projects like the Elliott Nunnally Extension Project and Foster Black Olive intersection improvements, Forest Service Road at a future date. And then here is the essentially what we were presenting as our match on that ATP program, that $3.1 million. We're scaling that down for the 1.25, but that's just going to get us through design only. Rounding it out, here's our changes on the matching funds. We have more actuals available to us, so we're seeing some projects come in under budget, so we're able to allocate these savings elsewhere into the other projects as well. Okay, so tonight we're asking council to accept public comment, of course, as always, and then potentially approve the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Infrastructure Action Plan Amendment 3. I'm always available for questions. And really look forward to continuing delivering on our paving projects where these funds are sprinkled in, and really getting to when some people come to us about, from an infrastructure perspective, is recovery complete? And when it comes to putting things back the way they were, yes, we're almost there. And for the things that are going to be great moving forward, that are going to provide that transformative change on our evacuation routes, we're just getting started. So great things take time. Glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Mark, I had a question on a couple of slides back on the projects that you had listed removed from project lists.
Yes.
So let's just say we started growing money trees and that was no object. Are those removed from the list or just pending funding?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much, Councilmember Lang. So actually, when the town originally, sorry for the flash, but this exhibit on the right is our official project list that we submitted notices of intent for, like I said, 60 different projects. So if it's on that list, it's always on that list. If there's a new idea that's not on that list, we could not use these funds on that project. So we keep all of the projects on the list, but it's not on the funded list at this point. So if something comes forward and we just need a little bit of a match and we see some budget come available, these projects can be reactivated, just flip a few switches. Thank you.
Well, I just thank you you did hear what we said in that last meeting, and it looks like you addressed as best you could.
Thank you.
Maybe PG&E has those trees, I don't know, that we could get or something. Yeah, money trees, yeah.
Maybe they're giving them
It burned, it burned, dang it.
Thank you, Mark.
No, thank you.
Okay, any more questions for Mark?
Good job.
Thank you.
Any cards?
I have no cards on this item.
Could I ask to speak up?
Sure. I just want to, good evening, council. I want to personally commend Mark and the staff for coming back and taking your input from your prior discussion on this, the earlier meeting, to heart. And I wholeheartedly agree with what he's recommending you consider tonight and take action on. I think those modifications are justifiable, quite frankly.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I didn't mean that not to sound excited, that's exciting. I mean, before the fire, we would have died for this kind of
Oh, absolutely.
opportunity.
Yeah, no.
So this is great stuff, so thank you.
Okay, item 6D, consider authorizing accounting assistant 1-2 full-time equivalent to be added to finance department. Amy?
I'll try to come up here without falling over.
Thank
So, good evening, council. If we compare ourselves to a horse, Mark is the head and finance is kind of the rear. He's pointing the direction and we're back there supporting him. So if there was ever a visual to say how we're supporting him, that last presentation tells you that. So what that was, $300 million just in those projects. And when he talks about those projects, from a finance perspective, I'm going, okay, audit, a different audit, another audit, tracking, setting up accounts, revising again.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say, what we just approved creates a lot of work on the finance department.
Right.
I'm so grateful, and you're underselling your role and how much support these need.
Well, the back end really holds the brunt of a lot of the things that are happening. And I don't want to make light of it because, I mean, without our team here, all of the departments, all of the directors, they are really transforming the town. And part of the transformation is tracking the money. And you know, in 10 years, what is going to happen is people are going to say, where's the money? And how was it spent? And how can you document that? And that's where my department comes in. And just to kind of give you a reference point for everything that's happened, when you had the comparison to some of the big cities, and that was in your packet. But what we didn't put in was some of the little towns. So if we look at Nevada City, they have 5 people, and their budget is 19 million. That's just a drop in the bucket for one of Mark's projects. If we look at Gridley, they have 7 people, and their budget is 24 million. If we look at Live Oak, they have 4 people, and their overall budget is 13 million. So my department currently has 6, and our budget is 122 million. Now, we're not going to spend all those because projects, as you saw, change. However, we're talking big numbers. We're talking FEMA audits. We're talking Cal OES. We're talking the DR projects that he was talking about, in addition to all the everyday items. So if we were to bring on an accounting technician, like is in here, that'll free up my accountants to do some more of the heavy lifting. And so it's limited term, because I know at the end of the day, everybody's going, long term, what are we looking at? Our responsibilities for employees. And so we're just trying to not overwhelm our staff, give the support to all the different departments. Is there any questions?
If we don't give you an extra person, based on the complexity and the amount of money that we're handling and will be handling for the next 10 or 20 years, and all those reports and everything, if we don't help you have enough personnel to, then we run the risk of people getting burned out, leaving the job, and if we have to replace any staff, there's a whole transitional piece and a whole cost piece to that. In the meantime, we're still managing millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects from now until the foreseeable future.
Correct. So if you look at the city of Chico, I believe their breakdown was 1 person to 18 million. This is budgeted, so I don't know what they're actually going to spend. If you look at ours right now, we're 1 person to $20 million. And if you think about all the different transactions that can happen, that is a wide breadth. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of time. And we just don't have the capacity that we need in order to do the due diligence that we really need to afford to it.
My big concern for your shop is the audits, your ability to withstand the audits. And you have to have the resources in order to make sure all the numbers are properly recorded and all the transactions. I know you've cleaned up the budget a whole lot since the day you came in, but nevertheless, with that amount of effort, there's always a chance for mistakes, especially if people are overwhelmed. And so, you definitely have to have a staff that manages it so we can pass every audit.
Sure, and we had 3 audits at one time in October, and you still have to handle the daily. And you still, like, for example, right now, we're dealing with negotiations and all the documentation that has to go along with that. We're dealing with creating the budget, and if, based off the timing of when negotiations is actually implemented versus the timing of putting those items together in the very short compressed time frame to make that happen, that's a lot of stress on my staff. It's very condensed, and it's going to be a lot of work. And, they're fantastic, and they really genuinely care about this place. They live here. And so they want to do what's best for you, but, we have to be realistic about capabilities.
Okay, so if we give you this extra, this is the way I think. So is that going to meet, are we going to need more, another workstation, another computer? We need more stuff? Or you just need another body? You know what I mean? We're going to need more equipment? I'm just curious. I know it's a very incidental additional number, but is that part of the deal too?
Of course, so you're going to have a laptop.
Okay, cool.
And a desk.
A desk?
And a desk, I know,
Oh.
I know. And we've been trying to figure out, how we can best implement. And we're looking at schedules and different things like that.
Oh, no chair? Oh,
We'll take yours.
town attorney, put me up to that. I'm throwing it under your bus.
No, but there's a real cost to an extra body, for sure.
Just for public, just for public disclosure. Yeah,
Sure.
It's not just the wages of an additional person, there's also some other things.
There's all the compounding effects, for sure. And we're just trying to be as prudent as possible. I'm not hiring or looking to hire an accountant. I'm looking for more person to do the data entry and kind of get those things so that I can free up my accountants to do the detail work that we're going to need for audits, for developing our budgets, for all these different areas. And a lot of it is just reviewing a lot of the documentation to make sure, okay, are all these things in place?
Cool.
It's a lot of work. It's exciting.
Any other?
To be in the rear. Because we're following what everybody has done.
Any other questions for Amy?
No, I don't know what you guys do. I don't know that department, as far as accounting, but I do know that we can't fall down on that side. That's,
Any card?
that'll hurt us.
I have no cards on this item.
I move approval.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion by Lassonde, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bowen.
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Lang.
Aye.
Councilmember Lassonde.
Wholeheartedly aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, I already won.
What are we doing?
So, council-initiated items and reports. We have no council-initiated agenda items. Council reports. Greg?
DeLefko, nothing that'd be of any interest. Council, anyway, there was other things, I can't think of them right now, but it's getting way too late.
Heidi?
So this last month has been kind of a blur, but I can tell you that I've lost count on how many sewer committee and sewer presentations we've done. We're really doing our best to ramp that up and move forward and come up with a direction as soon as possible. I did have the opportunity of attending the grazing workshop up at the Magalia Community Center a couple of weekends ago. And I was able to attend the Upper Ridge Community Council, which, while they are not here in Paradise, they do have a lot of related issues and impacts. And then I was able to attend the Paradise Citizens Alliance meeting.
Ron?
I also attended the grazing workshop, at least the early part of it, so that was very interesting for those who didn't make it. I love seeing those goats out there. Also attended the Boys and Girls Club cook-off fundraiser they had at the Veterans Hall, well attended. Attended the special town council meeting that we discussed the budget information. Also attended a CareNet Men's Ministry volunteer meeting, and that was it for last month.
Woody?
I attended today, PRPD Town Ad Hoc Committee meeting. That was really, we got an update on all of the things that Parks and Rec is doing. They're doing some really amazing things. There's some, keep your eyes open. There's going to be some real improvements made to Billy Park. They got a bunch of money and they got some designs. It's pretty exciting. So they're doing some cool stuff. And they're going to have kayaks available for rental at the lake, at Paradise Lake. So they're doing some really cool stuff, and it's great to be working with them. And then, I got an opportunity to attend an open house at the new Paradise Community Center, the old Paradise Senior Center. It's a gorgeous facility. Once they get the landscaping in, they'll get their certificate of occupancy. And they're looking for people that have brand new commercial kitchen equipment to staff the brand new commercial kitchen there, because they ran out of money to buy the parts. So anyway, check it out. They're going to have an opening soon where everybody will be invited there, and I encourage you to go check it out. It's going to be a nice addition to our neighborhood. That's it.
So, actually, I had quite a few things this month. The Parks and Rec meeting today, we had a group of young Ukrainian adults that basically all worked for the government that were here on a city-to-city sponsored by our Rotary Club, and I got to spend a couple days with them, and I learned that in 1993, that vase and plate back there, we already have a sister city in Ukraine, and I never realized that until they came. So they did bring some gifts. Somehow the little bottle of whiskey they brought didn't make it back here, but
I didn't drink it.
but they brought this is a city flag that they brought. This is their Ukrainian flag. A t-shirt. One of their patches, and this bag which says, Lazova is Ukraine, glory to Ukraine. These kids were really amazing, and I was really inspired to get to meet them and spend time with them, and it's just unbelievable what they're living with, and it's one of them lost her entire town. The others did not, but they're living in a war zone, very matter-of-factly for them, and it's just really kind of hard to imagine. So anyway, that was that. We've been doing a lot of contract negotiations, so those have all done. I did a Zoom call with the California State Association of Realtors with wildfire across the state, and there were a lot of experts on there, and that was really interesting. A week ago yesterday, I spent the day with our assemblyman in Altadena, and that was a little tough to do. We had, it was our assemblyman, there was a group of other state assembly people and senators, there were local leaders, there was the Los Angeles County Fire Chief and the Assistant Chief, a couple of police captains, and General Kelly, who is leading their cleanup effort for the Army Corps of Engineers. Really an interesting guy to talk to. They're making great progress there. I attended the Chamber Rotary Mixer at the Pizza Factory. If you haven't been there, that's a nice place to visit, good food. And I also went to the Community Center preview. Beautiful building, a lot of potential. It's going to be great for the community. And that's it for me. So we move on to future agenda items, anybody? Okay. So item 8A, Town Manager Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In addition to many of the things that were already mentioned here tonight, just been engaged in multiple meetings with our employees and our employee groups. This is the season for us to be doing that. And then again, numerous meetings with regard to our sewer project and the progress that we're making there.
Okay. Community Development Director Report.
Thank you. So just some updates on some development projects that we have going on in town. Last time we talked, I'd mentioned that there was that school expansion that was coming for CCCS Charter School up by the old Sport Haven. So that's already started the process. They got their septic approval, and then they just applied for their use permit at the end of March. So that'll get moving forward to Planning Commission. And again, that was going to increase the student capacity by another 170 students for 400 total, because they have a wait list there, which is great. We issued building permits to do an infill for a new liquor store at the old Rabobank. That was the Butte Community Bank at the corner of Clark and Wagstaff, that southwest corner. So they'll be remodeling the inside, and that's just retail liquor sales. And then we issued building permits for the old Atria or Oak Knoll assisted living facility on Bushman, the standing building that's in the center. So that's going to get converted to 43 apartment units. 28 were going to be studios, 15 of them one-bedroom units. So that got issued. We also were notified that one of the affordable housing projects that the Planning Commission had approved, the 72 units across from the post office, they're going to be moving forward. They got their tax credits, so we do expect building permit applications fairly soon, because those need to be ready to issue by end of this year, and we're already in talks with their architect. And then there was a submittal of the first phase of a new 10-unit multifamily. That's where the old Thai restaurant was on Upper Skyway above Billy, Manny's Chili Bowl. So 2 of the 5 duplexes have been submitted so far, but that's coming through plan check right now. And then for the septic side, we are reviewing a whole new septic replacement for a existing mobile home park on Pence Road that is not rebuilt since the fire. So they're getting this all in place so they can bring in units. It's a 58-unit park. It's on the canyon side of Pence, just below Billy. It was Acres of Paradise. So that one's in review, and then they'll go to the state and get their permits for construction.
It wraps around the store there?
I don't remember there being a store.
You said the canyon side.
Well, it's the east side of Pence.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be it then.
And then we do have a new use permit in for a new 7-unit RV park on Upper Pence, close to where Pence and Upper Skyway, close to where Skyway and Pence come together, up on the
7
hillside.
units?
Just 7-unit. There's a commercial building that's permitted out front, and this would be like 7 RV spaces kind of behind it. And that is new, that didn't exist pre-fire. So that's a use permit process with the Planning Commission. We just finished the wet season surface water sampling. We have 30 stations we sample in town, both wet and dry season. So That just completed, and then we'll schedule the 10 monitoring wells to be, to get grabs out of those and tested as well. And then last month, the Planning Commission had a use permit hearing for Heinke's Landscape Yard that's next door to Town Hall here. So that includes an 1,800 square foot building and just being able to have that facility operating full-time. It just is essentially a farmer's market scenario right now. But great looking building, great looking plans out there. So that was approved last month. And then just an FYI, as far as building activities going, for the first quarter of 2025, we are ahead for building permits applied for. We're further ahead than we were in 2024 or 2023 at this time. So we're still seeing a lot of stuff coming through. And then just a really quick update, we have a couple of town projects, right, that we're working on, animal control building. So the animal shelter updates for this week, there's going to be gates and electrical panels going on that site. The new building, they have plumbing, HVAC, window installation, and some paint stuff going on. They're also working on the old portion of the animal shelter. So they're doing some repairs on door frames, doing some HVAC ducting, and doing new windows. Next week, you'll see the generators supposed to arrive by the end of the week for the site. The new part of the building, you'll start seeing new interior doors and window sills. And then the old building, or the old portions, getting a whole bunch of plumbing, electrical, doors, hardwares, cabinets, and countertops. So a lot going on these 2 weeks. The other project that we have is for the fleet mechanic shop, right? So that, we won't actually see construction starting until about August, and that's just because of the lead times for the material. Stuff is ordered, we just have to wait for it. But submittals, we've already received the mechanical, electrical, skylight plans. Those are all reviewed and approved. The last thing we needed to look at was the roofing, and that came in today. So everything's going to be ready as soon as the materials arrive. So again, that's August. You'll see activity there. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard there's a new donut shop going in town, and there is a new ice cream store in town.
Yes. I don't know about the new donut. Are you talking about the one up at by Kmart?
Yes.
So that's a really old building permit that they, recently renewed again.
Yeah, because I know they contractor put the hood in. It's
Oh,
gonna be a donut shop.
excellent.
Yeah, and there's a new ice cream store.
Yes,
and
it's open there.
Yes.
In Burkett's area.
It's within walking distance from the brick. Oh, we know. Yes.
Well, that's how I heard about it. I heard you guys went over there.
We did.
Cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, with that, meeting adjourned.
Yay! Who won, Greg? Was it you?
Absolutely. I want my dollar.